I wouldn't say what we do is dangerous. We, as athletes, make it dangerous. We push it to the limit. So you know the risk is there, but you never think about it yourself, you know, breaking a back. The back and the neck are just so scary.
And then we had a huge wreck involving Trey, Canard, Ryan Morris, and Weston Pike.
The last 8 months, I'd ridden a month and a half out of that. You know, the rest of the time was sitting there injured.
Notice off the start, our 2 points leaders here, Villapoto and Dungy, got right out front where they needed to be.
I had a good start going, but my rear end slid out a little bit and kind of jumped into the hay bales. And what had happened is I grabbed the piece of material that goes over the things on the side of the tracks. They're called tough blocks. And so it was on my foot peg, and I knew it. And I think I was about mid-pack, you know, 8th to 10th place. And out of the second turn, there was a triple. And I didn't want to jump this triple with this tough block on my foot peg, so I opted to double the triple.
Front where they needed to be, but it was only about 7th or 8th. Notice Trey Canard, double singles.
And a huge wreck, as I said, involving Canard, Morris, and Pike.
Usually when you do that, the people behind you are aware of that, and they can shut down and do the same. But Ryan Marias was behind me, and I guess he didn't see me or just thought he could jump it and get past me. And, you know, I woke up 30 minutes later, and I learned that I'd been landed on and that I'd broken my back. And, you know, it's such a scary moment. There was a few days there where it's like kind of on limbo, you know, just in a lot of pain and really not knowing what's going on with my back, with my future, with everything. I had feeling in my legs. You know, there was a few shady spots. My thigh was numb, and you know, I just remember thinking, man, am I gonna race again, and what happens from here? You know, racing is all I've ever known. It's all I've ever done. You know, where in the world is this going? You know, why did this happen? Injuries are, you know, pretty much a given in our sport at some point in time, and it's a matter of just how you respond and the things you do to recover. But this is more of an emotional roller coaster because it was such a severe area, you know, the trauma with the spinal cord and the spine and the whole event. It's a lot of mental trauma there, I think, for everyone. So I think that's really been the hardest part, you know, just getting past that for everyone, you know.
Hey, bud.
What's happening, man?
How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. You doing all right?
Yeah, how you feeling?
Yeah, getting there.
You're looking good. A lot different without that brace
yeah,
on.
it's so much better.
Good, good.
Lay down on your back. Yeah, I was kind of expecting you to be in here with a walker.
2 weeks ago, I got some stuff out of my wrist.
Oh, you did? You had the plate taken out of your wrist?
Yeah, my collarbone and a screw out of my femur. This surgery went like so much harder than I really expected, though.
Yeah, well, most people just get one body part done at a time.
Problems?
My wrist is sore.
How's this?
This feels great.
See, I figured this would be the worst.
Surgery-wise, we put in 5 screws, 2 rods, and we took graft from his hip.
How did the surgery go? Was it pretty?
Oh, it took forever.
I heard
because of that.
Screw
This was nothing, this was nothing.
It's funny because it was a very severe injury, but at the same time, it seems pretty routine.
I got a screwdriver in it. And I mean, I just couldn't budge it. So then I got a little mallet.
Yeah.
It wouldn't break loose.
I think in the long term, overall, you're pretty lucky and kind of got away with not much considering the way the accident was.
It's very hard, but at least a femur anyway.
Hopefully I get the green light on everything today and can start doing a little training again.
In terms of on a competitive level and really doing the extreme riding, I think it's probably not something you should be doing probably for at least a year. Yeah, I think that's a realistic expectation.
Okay.
So I just want you to walk in a straight line, look at me while you're doing that, heel to toe, heel to toe. Great, you're looking perfect.
Just a matter of kind of holding myself back at this point because, you know, I'm antsy to get to work and you know, other injuries, it's like you can kind of will through the pain and muster up through it. But this, like, you know, you have to really be patient.
I know you push through it all, and you're kind of the ultimate athlete. You don't want to push through too much of the pain.
The next 6 to 8 months of my life is going to be a tough one. You know, we've raced our whole lives, and this is all we know. And when that's taken away from you, you know, what do you do with your life? So I'm just going to strive to do my best and keep pushing for more and look at Anaheim Stadium, you know, for 2013. You know, that's my hope, that's my goal, that's my dream, to be back here and to be racing and to be competitive. I think, you know, and I get this question asked to me a lot, you know, even before the last 2 injuries, really the last 3 injuries. It's like, man, what keeps you going? You know, what keeps you digging for more? You know, what is it that drives you? And you almost don't know the answer to that question. I'd grown up racing. You know, my dad, you know, basically sacrificed all his free weekends, his free time for me and my brothers to go racing and riding. And my dad had raced and my older brother were racing, so it was just a fun thing we did on Saturday nights, you know. That was our family thing. Having lost my dad when I was 12, you know, we were working on my track, you know, to think that, you know, he took his off day to work on my track for me. And, you know, he passed away doing that. We're here at the dealership where I grew up. My dad started this dealership. I have so many memories in this building, you know, sliding on the floor, and I used to ride my bicycle in here and crash it and see how good I could crash and kind of thing. It's pretty wild to come back here. I try to do it at least once a year, and been back a lot this year since I've been hurt, and it's been really cool. We had like our own little area and kind of see like some of the stickers as a kid, you know, the 241 right there, and kind of see like out past the fence there was, you know, if you picture just a little bitty mini bike track and just to rip it up every day.
So that's where Trey Canard's career started?
That's it. Had many crashes, and and Shane, the guy that owns the place, I'm sure he'd heard me screaming, you know, crash and just start yelling and freak everyone out, and definitely drove him crazy in the little 80s. But
Trey was stubborn and very hard-headed as a younger boy.
Why?
He had a lot of his father in him. I knew he had something special when he started riding a motorcycle at 2.5 years old, you know. He had something. He had a gift. I don't know if it was because it was pounded into him from get-go, because that's all his dad knew was motorcycles.
You know, every night after work, you know, he was working on my bikes or taking me riding or working on my track.
Basically, that's where the track was. The jumps has been leveled off now. It was Trey's idea, and Roy had built those with his tractor.
He was working on the track. They had a little 3-wheel tractor, and that thing turned over, and Roy was out there underneath the tractor for a while before they found him, and they got him to the hospital, and it was, you know, at that point, there was just not much they could do.
This is all that's left of it, which ain't much, so. Yeah, I mean, it was tough. I could probably say it was harder on Trey because he's the one that found his dad. So, that is probably the toughest obstacle he's probably ever going to have to, or has overcome, was finding his dad.
Get in a fight with a hillbilly. Don't worry about it. They don't like guys in spandex.
Right now we're here at my place in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and just getting ready to go do a little bit of an endurance ride. And this cycle, that's mostly what it's for, to build that base and help you in the longer motos, and then that'll actually help you with the shorter stuff too, once you have that base. I really like the cycling, especially, you know, when the sun's going down, and kind of relaxing too. Now I'm pain-free, you know, a few hours even, I'm good to go. So that's a really good thing for my back, you know, knowing that I can do longer endurance rides.
Anybody that saw that crash in LA, it was scary. I've known Trey for a long time, so it hit on a personal level real hard. But as soon as they got him out of surgery, we all knew that everything was going to be all right, and he was going to keep pushing on and keep working towards his dreams.
Honestly, the first 2 months, it looked like it was kind of painful for him and like hard to even get around and do things, and it was frustrating. But the last 2 months, he's looked like a normal person walking around here, except, you know, something's always missing with him not being on his bike and not riding with us.
It all started from the first walk at the hospital, you know. It's like, all right, so I'm not sure I can get up. Let's get up, you know. So you sit up, and then that's kind of step one. And then you take your first steps, and then before you know it, you're walking a little bit, and then you start to walk normal, and that becomes normal. And then you start a little bit of training. Like I started just light spinning on a stationary bike just to get my legs moving. But that thing gets pretty boring and not too much fun, but road bike is awesome. So been back at it for a few months now and getting after it. Mentally, it's just like a relief, you know. It's almost therapeutic to get out on the road and just enjoy the scenery and the weather and you know, kind of just get away from it all for a minute. How we doing? Good. Okay, that was not very enthusiastic. Let's try that again. How we doing? Good. Okay, all right, that was good. So tonight, kind of like one of my favorite topics in really in life is underdogs. That's kind of, I kind of live for that. You know, that you see the football team that's kind of not doing so well, and then they come back and take it all. That's kind of been my inspiration in a lot of life. Really, there's been a few points during the whole process where a lot of doubt builds up, you know, where you're just like, man, you just get so discouraged, you know, just looking back. In 2011, I broke my femur, and, you know, I was like, all right, cool, I'll just kind of heal up from this, and then we'll be good. I won't break another bone for at least 3 years or so. I get going again, and, you know, it's 3 months later, broke my femur again. I'm like, all right, God, I don't know why you let stuff like this happen, but I'm just gonna keep going. All right. Get back on the bike from that. 3 weeks later, break my collarbone. And I'm like, man, did I just steal something from the lady at the bank or what? What's going on here? Everything's kind of going, I get over that. And then my second race back from my collarbone, I break my back. And I'm thinking, man, this is rough. I don't know, God, whatever you're doing, man, just, all right. Not knowing the certainty of my injury and the certainty of my future makes people a little hesitant, you know? And not only that, but there's like 4 injuries in a row. So it's like, do we take a chance on this kid or not? Maybe he just gets hurt all the time. For me, I think finding your identity in something other than what you're doing, you know, finding your identity in something that is greater than you, that is what pulled me through. What I'm saying and what I'm trying to get around to in this is that God uses ways that we might not understand. I mean, ways that can just make completely no sense to us whatsoever. There's been a lot of doubting people. People say, why are you going through all this? And, you know, why are you getting hurt all the time? You know, if God's so real. And you know, that's pretty trying to hear for that from people, and people say that what you believe in is a fairy tale, and but I don't believe that at all.
Sometimes when things happen, we try to figure out who's to blame or what went wrong or what did we do, and bad things happen to good people, and they can happen any time.
If you see the crash, it's just unbelievable to think that Ryan and myself are okay, you know, and I think that, you know, I think that God had a big hand in that, you know, and I can't help but think that that's the only reason I'm here and walking and can feel my arms and legs.
And this is just really an unfortunate thing. But as Trey said tonight in his talk at the church, you know, he could see lots of good things coming out of it and have come out of it.
Out of this back injury, I was able to go to Africa, and I was able to spend time with Rod. I was able to spend time with my family. And I've grown, I feel, so much over this short period of time that I wouldn't trade it.
Well, we go to Tanzania each year, this congregation does, and we take members of the church here, and we do mission work. So Trey went with us this year, and he's been wanting to go for a long time. We stay for 2 weeks, and it's quite a trip.
You know, there was something so just rehabilitating about helping people. You know, it's just, you forget about what's wrong with you. You know, you forget about the pain that you're going through when you see someone who is living in terrible conditions. There's something about that that really brings you to a level of humility. And then from that point, you're like, okay, all right, you know, I'm ready and I'm content.
You know, you search for so many reasons and why could this happen, why is that, but you know, it makes perfect sense at this point, so thankful. You see, God uses ways we might not understand, and it's not because he wants to punish us or anything like that. It's what he says in Jeremiah 29:11, a pretty familiar scripture. He says, "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope." We might not understand it at the time, but God knows exactly what he's doing. He wants to give us a future and a hope.
I'm told that the healthiest that you can be mentally is when something devastating can happen to you, and the more good that you can see it coming out of it, the healthier you are.
Is it hard coming back to places like this from the memories of your dad, or is it a good thing?
No, it's neat, you know. I think it's cool for me because I feel like I had a great relationship with my dad.
I can still celebrate, you know, his life because he gave me so much that I can hold on to. My dad was a man of God, you know. He taught me values, you know, from a young age, and you know, he lost his life, you know, doing something that he did for me, and you know, it's motivating for me.
He was so young when it happened. It was a point where, you know, he just wanted to be a kid, trying to keep happy, you know, riding his dirt bike. And I think it got to the point when he was 15, 16 years old, he kind of realized how serious he wanted to be.
That was when he was on 80s, and I think he was pretty much determined. But I do think that his dad's passing probably made him try even harder. Instead of 110%, he's putting 120% in. And that's what I believe.
So much of my life, you know, since he passed away is wanting to do my best to make him proud, you know, to keep that legacy going, you know, and like the 41.
The number 41 goes back to when Roy started riding motorcycles. That's back in the 70s. Every bike Roy ever had had 41 on it. There was no other number. And if anybody else had 41 on their bike, they had to put an X or something behind 41 because Roy was 41. And everybody knew it.
This is my first ever motorcycle, 241. That was my first number. I never really won anything, like really as a younger rider until my last year, and I won all the championships that I could the last 2 years.
When he won the championship, he had the choice of picking a one-digit number. Growing up, you kind of always dream of one day being, you know, number 2 or number 3, number 4, 5, 6, anything one digit. That's cool, you know. That means you're past champion, and obviously, I don't really think it was too much of a decision. Whenever he ended up winning that championship and was able to pick his own number, it's cool to see the 41 back out there. I know Roy's probably up there smiling about that.
You know, I just wish that he could see the motocross thing, you know, like he was such a big, like, Roger DeCoster fan and like a big Jeff Ward fan and Guy Cooper, and I go to the track and Jeremy McGrath is right there, and I can talk to Jeff Ford and see Roger DeCoster, I can just imagine like how he would just enjoy that.
Trey was fortunate enough to go ahead and take his racing career to the highest level, and he's obviously made a great living for himself, and he supports Jimmy when he doesn't have anything going, and also myself, you know, when I needed a job, you know, he was here.
He takes care of me. I mean, I used to always kind of make jokes like he was my dad, because every time I'd run out of money and I didn't have enough to race, he'd just kind of like front me it, buy me bikes. So I'd have to keep in line up here, keep everything picked up, and make sure everything was good, or else Dad would get mad at me.
The dad thing, that was pretty good. Just knowing that I can do something and can do it in his honor and live that legacy for him, and it's just so special to me. Just riding in general, it's given me a life, you know, and it's given me meaning in my life.
One more. Work on your negative. Great, go right to the lights.
It's been good. I've been pumped to work with Dave, and you know, to have someone that's enthusiastic about it as you are, it's huge, you know.
From day one, we sat down, we discussed what his initial goals would be, and I told him, let's make sure there's no reason that the physician has not to allow you to return back to your sport.
It's been a complete, full-bodied thing, you know, from the core to the back to my legs to everything. So strength-wise, I'm better than I was this time last year. So, you know, it's a positive thing, and I feel like endurance-wise as well.
He's further along than what I would have expected him to be. I've worked with this type of injury many different times. I used to work with a lot of spine injuries, and I would say that Trey is progressing as well, if not better than most any individual, not to be if they're an athlete or not, than I ever have before. I would contribute that to Trey, his personality, his attitude, his dedication to his sport.
From the physical side of things, you just have to do all the work, you know, cross the T's and dot the I's, and make sure that you're kind of leaving no stone unturned. You know, you got to push through a lot of pain, and once you get past that, it gets really important, for me anyway, to have that belief that you can still do this, and having that confidence and that positivity that everything will go right. You know, you go through something traumatic, to an extent you can put it behind you, but to an extent it's always going to be there a little bit. I think the biggest thing is having peace about that. I don't think I've ever lined up on a starting gate and not had this crushing anxiety, but you almost look forward to like conquering that. Fear is part of life, you know, it's the unknown. So losing my dad and through several injuries, how to not have something that gives me comfort, you know, something that I have hope for, I don't know how I can deal with that. It's been a dream of mine since I was this tall to be a Supercross champion. I'm not out there just racing to race, you know. I really believe that I get there on Anaheim 1, I'm going to be fighting for more than just escaping fear. You know, it's just crazy because I feel like I come out of this thing in a better place than I came into it. Anytime I'm ready to go, you know, so, you know, not saying that in like a crazy suicidal way, but in a way that I have peace about, you know, what I'm doing and ready to go on to whatever's next. So it's an exciting thing. I remember one of my friends, Jimmy Albertson, he told me, you know, man, you told us that you were never going to race again. And I don't remember that, but I remember when I could really think, you know, when I was really coherent, you know, there was never that thought. You know, it was always, I want to race. I've always felt that this is my God-given ability, and I feel I have an opportunity here to not only race and win races and worry about winning championships, but to impact people's lives. That's my goal, you know, first and foremost. And then I think I just want to be healthy, you know. Not dealing with physical pain would be pretty cool.
Feeling pretty good?
Yeah.
Good. You been back on the bike yet?
No. What I was kind of thinking for me is like into September, kind of being full tilt by then. Do you think that's
back to where you start really getting back in the swing of things?
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable.
The first little bit was, he said a year. I went in for 3 months and they said, you know, 6 to 9. And then it was 6 to 8. And then, you know, I went at 6 months and they said, all right, you can start light riding.
You have a normal person that goes in there, they're gonna tell them they're gonna be out for a year. Well, they don't understand, like, Trey does everything possible. So for him to be, you know, 6 months ahead of schedule and be ready in half the time, that's something that I definitely believe is completely normal for him.
Pretty cool, you know, it's you know, still trying to get used to everything, and everything is really fresh. So the objective is just to kind of get back in the swing of things, and then, you know, with the doctor kind of want me to be light riding. I'll do some jumps, but try and stay off the more kind of high danger type stuff, you know.
He's just getting back on the bike. I mean, obviously, it doesn't take Trey long to go fast. So I better, when he gets back on the track, I better take my victories while I can. I remember last time coming off the broken femur, it was like 1 day and it was like, okay, see you later. Racing's his way of letting go, you know. He's a by-the-book guy, so if it comes to speeding in a vehicle or cursing, you know, you never hear the guy say one cuss word. I mean,
dude, the 6'9", it just needs to go.
Get your mind out of the gutter. Riding, that's when he just lets it all hang out, and you can see him just become who he is.
Me and this guy have had some serious battles.
When I had a bit of an advantage on him, and he rode the 250F and I had a 450, and my bike was a lot faster than his, I caught Trey from a little ways back.
You know, you have a little pride. You always want to be the fastest guy riding. And Jimmy was putting it to me this day. I was doing everything I could. I remember he came in on me and like he almost passed me, and I was so mad.
Trey had just decided he was gonna brake check me in a corner. So he just basically stopped and I fell over, and I remember crashing and going over to my brother and being like, Trey, he brake checked me, he took me out down there. And Greg kind of looked at me and was like, no, he didn't, he wouldn't ever do that, whatever, you just ran into the back of him. And as soon as Greg got back, he was like, hey, what happened back there with Jimmy? He's like, I brake checked him.
I don't know, just redheaded temper just got to me that day and brake checked him. I don't even think I apologized.
Is it hard to get out there and take it easy?
Oh yeah. One of the fun parts for me is like trying to push your limits, you know.
He gets on the track and he has so much confidence and belief in everything that's going on, and his faith that he can go out there and just go wide open and go as fast as he can and train as hard as he wants.
For me, it's like just riding my motorcycle and feeling that feeling whenever I hit a turn right or I hit a jump perfect. There's just no greater feeling to me on this earth. You know, it's just awesome. This is a gift, you know. For me to think that I would throw that away or give up on it, I can't think of doing that. You know, it's so unreal for me to have an opportunity like this. It's just been a huge blessing. You know, I believe I was put on this earth to ride a motorcycle.